Well, welcome back to Nightly Nonsense. If you didn't think last night there was some nonsense, then you probably didn't listen to it. We talked about baby bunnies nursing. I would invite all of you to come to my home, but some of you in the Philippines and some of you in India and those kind of places, it's going to be really expensive for you to come just watch some baby bunnies. Here's the kicker. By the time you got to me, they wouldn't be baby bunnies anymore. And I have no plans to have any more. So you're going to have to just go with what I'm saying. We talked about the fact that sometimes we abort the things of God. Sometimes we just have to sit and wait for the things of God to mature. But once they mature, listen, there's things that we can be doing. How can I use this gift? Right? How can I apply this gift? Just sitting and watching the gifts of God grow up, just watching and seeing the plans of God grow up, that's great, right? There's value in that, like I just said. We can be in awe of the gift giver because we're watching what's going on. But we also have to have a plan for how to use them. Here's truth. I don't want 8 baby bunnies. Right? I don't really want any of them, even though they're all cute at the moment. But they all grow up and they're all gonna get bigger. I don't necessarily want them. So you know what the key to this whole thing is finding homes, finding a place for this. Where are you gonna use what God has given you? Where are you going to use the unexpected gifts? Right, so we get the thing, God gives us some resources, we put it in a bank account, we put it in a shed, right, that kind of a thing. Does it just sit there forever and ever and ever? Or are we anticipating, how am I going to use this? Are we developing, where does this go? Do you know, each of my bunnies, if I did this right, they should go to a very specific home. They should be purposeful in nature. Right, so that we're attaching and making good living arrangements for these bunnies. I can pack all of these bunnies up in a box and take them back to the auction and go, here's what happened to me. Right? I can send them on to the auction. They're all going to get homes that way in some way, shape, or form. But I have no control over what happens to them. I'm just going to wrap it all up and give it back. Right? So again, is that what you do? God gives you gifts and stuff and you wrap it up and then you just give it back to him and like, okay, God, I don't really want to use it or do anything with it. Or do you find ways and opportunities for the gifts that God has given you? When he gives you a heart for something, like, do you then find, where can I use this? How can I use this? God, open up the doors. Let me use this. Right? Sometimes you have to make the hard choices. Man, this seems like a good opportunity, but it's not. Sometimes it's not gonna be all easy, and not everybody who wants a bunny can have one. But sometimes God puts us in the right place, the right time, the right situation, and we're excited about that, right? There are different things. When God puts gifts in our lap, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? How do we use it, right? But always the end result with God is so that he would get the glory. God wants you to use the unexpected things that he puts in your lap to give him glory. Not everything is cute and fuzzy like baby bunnies, but let me explain to you. It sounds like a really funny thing until you realize that in about another 8 weeks, literally, I could have 100 rabbits. Like, now I got a real problem. Not just because there are 100 rabbits. I can't feed 100 rabbits. I could not afford to do that. Do you know that if I choose to do nothing with those gifts for another 8 weeks, I could have 5, 6, 700 rabbits? Do you see how quickly, in 6 months, I could easily have 1,000 rabbits on my farm? That's a problem. I cannot afford that. I can't do. So just sitting on stuff sometimes is going to cause us problems. We've got to figure out, how do we use it? What do we do with the stuff that God gives us? Sometimes it's not cute and fuzzy like baby bunnies. Sometimes it's hard stuff, sickness, financial problems, relational problems. I didn't expect to have this relational problem, but now I do. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to get God the glory through what you're going through? I've seen some fantastic examples of that lately. People that have just stuck to this fact of, I'm going to give God the glory. I'm going to make sure that I am godly through this process, right? And they're doing hard things, but God is rewarding. God is giving them things. God is taking care of them because they are taking care of that which God has put in their lap. So I need you to think about that. Are you doing something with what God has put in your lap? Right? Hopefully you haven't aborted it. Hopefully, even if you're waiting for it and you're sitting on it, you're not sitting too long, so you end up with 1,000 bunnies. Hopefully you're figuring out what to do with it. So think about that. And I'll come up with something new and different tomorrow night, right here, Nightly Nonsense.